Hi, guys, and welcome to A Patriot's Journey. This is Kara, and I'm coming to y'all today with this live Biden border crisis. It's bad. I live here in Southeast Texas, but it's uh, it's so obvious what is going on, but and it's not good. But anyway, so we're going to read a couple of articles today. I'm going to give my 2 cents and watch a couple of videos from Greg Abbott and other Republican people down here. Apparently, the Republicans know it's a crisis down here on the border, but the Democrats don't think so. So I don't know. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get into this. Let's see.
It's all over. And we got a long road ahead of us. I don't think you can actually clean up Washington, D.C. I don't think you can fix it. It's already fixed. President Trump's going to have to invite all of his contractor buddies. They're going to have to put a fence around D.C., 3 layers deep. You're going to have to pamphlet the city. Anybody that wants out, we got metal detectors, and you're going to get strip searched. You're not getting out with any of the evidence. Anybody that wants to stay, you're an enemy combatant. We're going to flood the city and wash it out. We're going to divert the Potomac. We're going to watch where the water comes out of those slimy holes. I don't care if they're 200 miles away. And then, after we've flushed it clean about 3 times, because we're not taking any chances with any of our guys, then we're going in, we're going door to door, and we're going to clean that place out, and we're not going to occupy it again. We're just going to leave it fenced up as a spectacle to the world of the insanity of these groups that have tried to manipulate us. And we're going back to right thinking, godly thinking, sound thinking.
I'm a very stable genius.
Humans, not these monsters that have taken over our country and our way of life. I hope all of your listeners decide to be counted. I hope they'll find a way to close ranks, recognize each other in the spirit of that kid. We all are. We all choose to remember and be standing on the side of a street as our father, president figure, friend, fellow American rolled by.
Yeah, and so in case y'all didn't know, this is all tied in together. You know, the White House, the dumbs underneath the White House, the children, the Biden, Barack Obama, and the $60,000 worth of hot dogs, which is, of course, their sick way of labeling a child. But anyway, this has been going on. It's been going on with Biden and his people for a long time. That's what they do. They traffic children. They take children. They abuse the children. And then we, as taxpayers, have to not only put up with it, but then we have to pay for it with our tax dollars. And it's bull. You know, from an outsider looking in, from sitting back and going down all these rabbit holes in the past 3 years and being here, and so I've never been more compelled to get on here and have a live show and talk about anything more important than God and the children. And what's going on right now at the border with these children is it's terrible. It's awful, and we should all be appalled about it. Not just Republicans, but I mean everybody. You know. Because this is what they're doing. They are trafficking these children from Mexico over here for Biden and his buddies, you know, for them so that they can keep on their human trafficking agenda, which is what they've been doing, because it's what it's all about. It's all about the children. It's all about destroying countries, not just America, but Mexico, everywhere. They've been doing this for years. They've been doing this, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. And believe me, I'm not the only one that feels this way. I'm not the only one that feels this way. So I'm going to read an article that came out, and first we're going to do. That's what we're going to do first. And so this is from the Washington Examiner. Joe Biden is a human trafficking president. And you know what? They may take my channel down for this. I don't care anymore. I really don't, because I'll just keep coming back. Because what's going on is got to be exposed. It's got to be exposed. Everybody needs to know exactly what is going on with all this. And this is exactly what it is right here. This was written on March 11th, 2021 by Eddie Scary. Okay, so let me make this a little bigger so y'all can see it. Okay, so in just 50 days into his presidency, human trafficking and smuggling at the southern border have already gotten worse thanks to President Biden. Reuters reported Wednesday that the Mexican government has assessed that gangs are just diversifying methods of smuggling and winning clients as they eye U.S. measures that will incentivize migration. So they've been incentivized for these people to come here. But anyway, the trafficking of migrants to the U.S. from Mexico and Central America hoping to win asylum isn't new. The Trump administration went to great lengths to discourage it by getting those governments to disperse migrant caravans and forcing asylum seekers to wait in Mexico until their cases could be adjudicated. Shutting off hopes of quick entry into the U.S. with all of its legal protections and entitlements limits the potential customer base for the human traffickers who take payment in exchange for bringing up foreigners to the southern border. That's a good thing, if only because women and girls are frequently sexually assaulted, raped, and abused by men who are also on those trips or by the human traffickers themselves. Trump era accords the deported people to Central America. If Biden's open border policy is functioning as an incentive for trafficking and smuggling, then he bears at least some responsibility for the deadly car crash earlier this month in California that left 13 dead, including a 23-year-old Guatemalan woman. 25 people were packed inside of a 1997 Ford Expedition when it drove through a hole in the fencing at the border onto a highway, only to be crushed by an oncoming tractor trailer. The driver was a smuggler. Biden's presidency is the best thing to happen to human traffickers in at least 4 years. And that's right. That's right. That's right. And it's so sad. It's so sad because, it's not the people that are coming over. Hell, they don't know. They're being promised things. So, of course, they're going to come. But they're being lured, in my opinion. They're being lured by the Biden administration over here so that they can be trafficked, so that they can be treated like they, or be, extorted, or, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to let y'all hear a video of Greg Abbott earlier talking about the majority of these children are boys. They're young boys. If that's not enough to just floor you, because it was enough to floor me. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to get on here and I've got to tell y'all that this is a problem. It's a problem about human trafficking. It's a problem about trafficking children because Trump cut off their supply. So now Biden's making them a new supply. That's what this whole thing is about. Well, besides the fact of breaking this country down, which you just said, that color revolution, it's all in their playbook. It's what it's all about. They did it. They've done it for years. They've done it to other countries. They've, mainly Obama and Biden have done it to other countries, And if you go and you look on the internet at Color Revolution, and I've done a couple of videos on the Color Revolution and read through it, and I'm telling you, it's a play-by-play book. It's a play-by-play book. So anyway, so now here's, interestingly enough, I was watching these videos about the border crisis, and um, I came across this one, and let me get there real quick. And it's sorry, y'all. Okay, go to my history. So if y'all haven't already, please like the video, subscribe, please, and share this around. And so this is here. We're going to watch this one first, and then we're going to see these other ones. Okay, so these are GFO representatives. That this is Biden's border cross. Now, this came out on March 10th. Okay, so we're gonna kind of go from back there. There's a lot that's happened this past 2 weeks, especially. You know, you can go to YouTube and type in border crisis, and you see all these videos. But anyway, so we're gonna listen to this one. Let me start it over because they're calling Biden out. You know, they're calling Biden out, and this is not just Texas. This is Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and this is from the Hill.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming out and covering this important press conference and listening to our profound concerns about what's going on at the border. We are representatives. We are members of Congress who represent border states, and our communities are at ground zero, and our constituents on the front lines bearing the brunt of the lawlessness and self-inflicted crisis at the border created by the Biden administration. The first step in solving a crisis is to first admit you have one. But let's be clear, even if you don't admit it, it doesn't mean that there isn't a crisis, and the facts on the ground, folks, do not lie. This year, we've seen double the number of apprehensions at the border. In fact, CBP just released this afternoon that in February, there were over 100,000 apprehensions. Triple the number of migrant children trafficked here by drug cartels. That's over 320 kids a day being apprehended and detained, and we're on pace to have over 120,000 migrant children trafficked here to the United States. That's 30% higher than any record year prior. Even President Obama's Secretary of Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, said that 1,000 crossings a day is a crisis. Folks, we're upwards of 4,000 a day. You would have to have the most acute case of suspended reality to deny that we have a border crisis. This crisis is a direct result, let's be very clear, a direct result of President Biden's unilateral actions, to name a few: reinstating catch and release, repealing funding for the border wall, re-empowering sanctuary cities, and rescinding the stay in Mexico policy. Why is he doing it? Well, I think it's because President Biden is obsessed with repealing everything with Trump's name on it. I think he's equally obsessed with acquiescing to every demand of the radical left. Policies have consequences. You show me the policy, and I'll show you the outcome. And the outcome of the Biden administration policies are devastating to our communities, and they will destroy our country. I've gathered my colleagues here today, and I want to hear from them, and I know you do too. So first up is my friend Chip Roy from the great state of Texas, representing Texas 21st District. Chip.
Well, thanks, Jody. Thanks for pulling us together, and thanks for my colleagues here from border states. We're feeling the brunt of this directly. To be clear, this crisis is affecting our entire country, and frankly, it's affecting our friends to the south throughout this hemisphere. And it's a tragedy that could be completely avoided. But why is this happening? We see it right here. This is the Biden border crisis. It is owned completely and entirely by President Biden and his administration, with their complete refusal to enforce the laws of the United States purposely ignoring their duty under the Constitution to enforce the laws of the United States, and that matters for human beings, American citizens who are endangered in our state of Texas, in our country. Talk to the mayor of towns like Uvalde, of towns like Lakey and Camp Wood and Real County that I represent. Talk to the border communities. You've seen the video from the Del Rio mayor. Go down and talk to people in the border in South Texas and along all of the states along the border and what's happening. High-speed chases, break-ins, crime that's increasing. Cartels have operational control of our border, and the Biden administration knows it, and they don't care. Because for political purposes, they're perfectly fine having open borders that endanger the lives of American citizens, but also the immigrants who seek to come here. Children being abused on the journey while they claim in the false name of compassion that open borders is somehow pro-immigrant.
Warning. If you have more than $20,000 in an IRA or 401k, please heed this urgent message.
I'm here to tell you that secure borders is pro-immigrant, pro-America, and pro our values, and the Biden administration doesn't care. Jody talked about 100,000 apprehensions in February. What is it going to take for this town and for the media and for people around this country to wake up and see what's happening at the border and the crisis that it means for our country and the people seeking to come here? 6,000 people in one day apprehended. 6,000 people in a day. That doesn't count the 800 to 1,000 gotaways estimated that day. And do you know what happens when Border Patrol is distracted, having to deal with unaccompanied children packed into facilities, and now they're filled? And now Border Patrol is now releasing people immediately into our country, oftentimes sick with the COVID virus? That's happening. There were 11,000 people released out of Border Patrol immediately into our communities in January and February. That's from inside sources at DHS. Think about that number. That's endangering our country. And I'll end with this. My colleague Yvette Harrell from New Mexico is going to talk about the bill she has to ensure that we continue to enforce Title 42 to protect the health and well-being of American citizens from the spread of the COVID virus, and why that needs to continue to be enforced by this administration. She's got a bill. We've got a rule. We're going to try to discharge that bill on the floor of the House and demand that we vote on it and force our Democratic colleagues to stand up and do their duty to defend the United States of America and protect our citizens, and again, to protect the immigrants who seek to come here. I'm going to turn it over now to my friend, Debbie Lesko from Arizona. Oh, yes, Debbie Lesko from Arizona.
All right. Thank you, Chip. Debbie Lesko from the great border state of Arizona, and I'm here to tell you there is a crisis on the border. And the reason I know that is because the Yuma, Arizona mayor and sheriff and the Cochise County sheriff in Arizona have said there's a crisis on the border, and they're on the ground and they see it each and every day. They say illegal immigrants are being released into Arizona communities. Some of them are not even being tested for COVID-19. And I can guarantee you the reason that thousands upon thousands of illegal immigrants are traveling thousands of miles to get into the United States is because of Biden's lax immigration policies. He is incentivizing these young children, minors, to travel thousands of miles at the mercy of dangerous cartels. I've talked to the Yuma, Arizona sheriff. He has shown me the date farms where women are being raped, where he's being called because illegal immigrant women and girls are being raped at the hands of the cartel.
I'll never use another pair of protective underwear again. Right now, you can qualify for a free box.
This is child abuse. And Biden and his policies are to blame. On March 8th, I wrote a letter to the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security demanding answers. What are you going to do about this catastrophe? It is a humanitarian crisis. It is a health crisis. And it is a national security crisis. And it needs to end. Thank you. And next up is Pete Sessions from the great state of Texas.
Great job, Debbie. Thank you very much for being here. Each new president of the United States takes an oath of office to well and faithfully execute the laws of this great nation. On the same day that Joseph Biden did that, he went back to the White House and signed documents that in essence took away every obligation that he had made while taking that oath of office here at the Capitol. To well and faithfully execute the office and the laws of this country mean that you need to work through a process, but to unilaterally disobey the law, to encourage thousands of others to take the risk of their lives and against the security of this nation is just simply unfathomable to many of us. We live in border states. We live in states where people come through. We've attempted in the past to work on immigration laws that would strengthen the ability for us to take people who are in this country, but not to encourage illegal immigration. Illegal immigration by itself creates a circumstance that is bad, not only for this country, but for the rule of law, and makes us look bad as a nation. By myself, I will tell you that I see the impact that takes place in our cities with crime, in our schools that have to pay for these types of circumstances, and worst of all, a lawless society because they came here illegally. They think by invitation of the President of the United States. We are asking for President Biden to please recognize the disaster, the crisis that he has created, and this administration has an obligation not just to follow the law, but to well and faithfully execute the office that he undertook. And we call on the President today to do just that.
Good job, Pete. Next speaker, Randy Weber from the great state of Texas.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. 5,000 people, Texans, men, women, children. When I was in the Texas legislature for 4 years, we put money on the border to try to secure our border because Obama wouldn't do his job. He invited illegals. 5,000 Texans were either killed, maimed, the women were raped, assaulted. You had crimes where they went in with violent crimes, criminals did, Mexican drug lords. 5,000 of our Texans in the year 2009, 10, 11, and 12 were either maimed, killed, or hurt. I watched the video with my heart breaking as the DPS got after a drug lord who was running in a vehicle at 90 and 100 miles an hour.
Nuts are one of the healthiest things you can eat.
Crashed right through a red light into the side of a Suburban, had a family of 5 in it. Those 5 Texans, none of them made it out. All killed by illegal immigrants, illegal aliens intent on coming over here and taking advantage of our system. Women shouldn't be raped. There should be no violent crimes by someone who's not supposed to be in this country. Texas put $200 million a session for 4 years on the border, high-speed gunboats, over airplanes flying, helicopters, trying to secure our border when we begged Obama. Under President Trump, he came in to secure the border. That was one of his main platforms he ran on. Make Americans safe, make Americans secure, be a country that had its own legitimate border. And Biden gets there, and what does he do? He reverses everything. How many more killed Americans, Texans, President Joe Biden, does it have to take to recognize we've got to secure our border? We've got to secure our border. This is about keeping Americans safe and protecting our own. I'm going to yield back to my good friend Yvette Harrell from New Mexico.
Land of enchantment. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. The truth is, I've been warning my district about this crisis since the day I got sworn in. And unfortunately, I've been proven right. Because this Biden crisis on the border isn't just Biden's, it's yours, it's America's. And the bill my colleague was talking about is the PAWS Act. It's Title 42. We're asking this president to leave Title 42 in play. This was the health order under President Trump that allowed Border Patrol agents to expel those coming here illegally on the border within a couple of hours to either Mexico or Canada. This is a public safety order. And I can't think of one person in this country that hasn't been affected by COVID-19. I'm sure some of you in the press have a friend, a family member who's been affected, maybe even died. So while we've sat for the last year with our masks on and our doors closed and our kids not being educated, trying to flatten the curve and do all these things that our government has mandated us to do, it is reckless, it is selfish, and it is harmful for us to now turn the blind eye and allow illegals into this nation that we know have been exposed to or have COVID-19. I, for one, have had a sister in the hospital that went through surgery. I couldn't be there with her. Her children couldn't be there with her. Why? Because of COVID. I've had countless people call my office because their loved ones are alone in senior living establishments. They cannot see their loved ones on their dying beds because of COVID-19. And now to open the border and think this is somehow a good idea is a terrible idea. And we should all be very ashamed of what this administration is doing, not only to our country, but to those that are coming here illegally. I believe we are better than this and deserve way better than this. This Biden crisis has got to be fixed. And I'm standing with my colleagues to tell them just that. Shame on this administration for putting the lives of the American people at risk, greater risk. Our first responders, our seniors, our small communities. And it's not just government that's affected. It's not just the sheriffs talking about it. It's all the ranchers and farmers in my district, 180 miles of border. There are holes in the border where now illegals are coming through. So try leaving your barn at night and carrying a gun because of the illegals that are hanging out in your yard. Or talk to the family who had their young 6-year-old daughter kidnapped 3 weeks ago by illegals and tell me this is a good thing to do. I stand with my colleagues. We've got to close this border. We've got to protect Americans first. Thank you for doing this.
Hello there, ladies. Doing the laundry blows, am I right? Unless you have a 50-inch chest like mine around.
Now the Dean of the Texas delegation and our good friend Kevin Brady.
Congressman Arrington, thank you for bringing together leaders in Washington who are truly concerned about this border crisis. So let's begin by being real honest with each other. You know, the threats against the U.S. Capitol are largely imaginary. The crisis on the border, it is real. The Biden border crisis is real, and it is only going to get worse. Think about this. On day one of his presidency, he halted the border wall construction and revoked President Trump's administration's national emergency declaration. He removed the common sense remain in Mexico policy, and he re-implemented catch and release. That means migrants who have broken our nation's laws are being released into our communities without receiving a COVID test during a pandemic. And all of this has been a big green light to undocumented children, to coyotes, to others who wish us ill to enter the United States. Already this year, as you know, fivefold increase in unaccompanied kids coming to the U.S. and a tripling of the migrants apprehended once a year. And yet, President Biden seems to be in denial, doesn't seem to acknowledge this humanitarian crisis on the border that is overwhelming our churches and our nonprofits, not just the government at the border. And make no mistake, this is his crisis. He created it and he owns it. And bottom line is, if you're not from a border state, you don't get it. You just don't get it. And I will tell you, this green light, this open border that the president has created, it is not just migrant families coming across the border. If you think that, you're just naive. The truth is, Houston area where I live has become the largest sex trafficking region in the country. Today, as we stand here in Texas, 300,000 young men and women are in the slave trade industry. And our proximity to the border is a cause of that. And I know it's easy for President Biden and the radical left to just ignore all this because it's not happening in their backyard. But the truth is, this has real consequences to the immigrants themselves, the migrants themselves, to the communities along the border, to constituents in my district. And so President Biden, I'm calling you, stop spending your time killing Texas energy jobs. Stop spending your time kowtowing to the radical left. Take ownership of this crisis that you've created. Step up and help us fix this. There are a lot of lives on the line.
Well said, Chairman. Well said. Representing the 3rd District of Texas, Van Taylor.
For just $67, you can make as many videos as you want, and you never need to pick up a camera or use.
Thank you, everybody. I'm Van Taylor from the 3rd District of Texas. As a young Marine second lieutenant, I led U.S. Marines on the U.S.-Mexican border. That was a time under President Clinton when border security was a bipartisan issue. Unfortunately, we have a president who has decided to open our borders and allow our schools to be closed. And that's bad for children. It's bad for children here in America that want to go to school. It's bad for children from other countries who are literally risking their lives to come here. They're being exploited by cartels. They're being sex trafficked. This is an unacceptable humanitarian crisis. It is totally predictable. It's time to return to having a secure border. It's possible. We know the policies that could secure the border, and we know them because when they were repealed just 50 days ago. In 50 days ago, we had a secure border. This president owns this crisis.
Thank you, Van. From the 1st District of Texas, Louis Gohmert.
Thank you, Jody. And we thank you for being here. This is a very, very critical issue. Anybody that has any care about them, any sympathy for what is going on at our border and south of our border, the very best thing we could do is secure the border. Having been a felony judge, I've seen and experienced the grief of more sexual abuse, more trafficking victims than I care to think about. And this administration is complicit in helping that go on. Now, I'm sure with all that's on President Biden's mind, whatever that is, he's not thinking intentionally about hurting people, but he ought to think about really helping people and the greatest damage being done. And that is this. The reason Mexico and Central America are not some of the greatest economic examples of prosperity is because of corruption. And that corruption is funded by American dollars for the sex trafficking, for the drug trafficking, and also to some degree there's money paid from people that want to cross our border. But I've been there all hours of the night when people were asked by the Border Patrol.
Warning. If you have more than $20,000 in an IRA or 401k, please heed this urgent
How much did it cost you? That's not on their list of questions. And it'd be $5, $6, $7, $8,000. Where'd you get that money? And I haven't heard anybody that yet could explain they paid the full amount. Over and over, it's, well, we paid this much, and somebody from the U.S. sent that much, and they're going to let me pay off the rest and working for them. This is the drug cartels, and we're funding them. And they're the ones doing the sex trafficking, the corruption in Mexico. When a policeman's head put on a pike, it was funded by American dollars that didn't secure the border. So President Biden or whoever is telling him what he should do, you need to help our neighbors by stopping the corruption. Stop your corruption. Let's secure the border.
Representing Texas.
Yeah, and I'm going to stop it on that with Louis Gohmert. Yeah, he knows, all of them behind him. They all standing behind him. They all know, too. They all know that this is a puppet in there, and he's a puppet for Obama. And we all know that. Obama did a interview a few years ago saying that he would love to be able to sit in a basement and have a thing in someone's ear and just tell them what to say. And that's exactly what's going on right now. But anyway, things unseen, But you know what? There's that scripture in Luke that says, for everything will be, that's undercover will be brought out to the light. Everything. Everything. And so I'm hoping and I'm praying that that's what we're seeing now. Because, I mean, to fathom the thought that these little children, there's videos, okay? There's videos out there of these newspaper media are out there scouring around down at the border and finding condoms, finding lubrication, finding, children's clothing. It's sickening. And, I mean, it's got to stop. It's got to stop. I mean, it went wild and rampant under Obama and Clinton and Biden. Trump had a hold on it. I mean, he finally got it down, and where we could, try to do something, and then they're opening it up and trying to do it again, thanks to Biden, and or the Biden regime, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, man, it makes me so mad. But anyway, so now we're gonna watch a video that Governor Abbott did, and so let me go back over here, and let's see. Y'all, that was from the Hill, by the way. GOP representatives. This is Biden's border crisis. Y'all can go over there and watch that if y'all want to. The rest of that. But anyway, okay. So, okay, I'm also going to show y'all this too from Vice News. But first, let me go down here. All right, let's watch this one. It's only 4 minutes long. Now, this was yesterday.
The truth and pushing false narratives. Well, take a look at this. Over the last 3 years, while the establishment.
So this one was yesterday, guys.
Well, thank everybody for being here today. We have with us Director Steve McCraw, who is the Director of the Texas Department of Public Safety. We have Andrea Sparks, who I will tell you more about before she gives her remarks, as well as Christy Lopez, who works with the leader of what's called Traffic 911, and she'll tell you more about what she does momentarily. Let me begin with this. Across the street from where we gather today at the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center is where the Biden administration is preparing to house up to 3,000 unaccompanied minors who cross the border. Similar sites exist in Carrizo Springs, Texas, as well as Midland, Texas, and that's just as of now. The way that we see the number of unaccompanied minors crossing the border, there's every reason for Americans to expect the number and size of those sites to continue to increase in the coming days. These sites are a direct result of President Biden's reckless open border policies that are causing a surge in border crossings and cartel activity. The administration has yet to provide answers that Texans deserve. How long will these children be here? What countries have they come from, and what COVID variants have they been exposed to? Are they being tested for COVID? And if so, how is the administration handling those who test positive? Is the federal government following CDC quarantine protocols? What happens to these children if they do test positive for COVID, and if they do become ill, who is it that's going to be taking care of them? The Biden administration must also answer for enticing unaccompanied minors into inhumane conditions that expose these children to traffickers, to abuse, and to terror. So far this year, more than 11,000 minors have been apprehended crossing the border into Texas. Children crossing the border rose 60% from January to February to more than 9,400 in February. The number of migrants crossing the border is at the highest since March 2019 and is on pace to hit a 20-year high. On Monday alone, the Border Patrol took in about 280 child migrants in the Rio Grande Valley sector. America needs to know how these children, some are young children, how they are coming across the border, and who is it that is helping these children come across the border.
Something that was once done only by men could be the key to taking years off your appearance.
Border. Americans need to know whether or not these children were harmed or abused in any way. They need to know if these children were assisted, coerced, or threatened by cartel members or by human traffickers. Were they forced to carry contraband as they made the trek across Mexico to the American border? All of this is vital information that can help America combat these human traffickers and prevent other children from being victimized. Americans deserve to know what the Biden administration is doing to get those answers. And Americans deserve to know what the Biden administration is doing to go after these human traffickers who are preying upon these young children. The Biden administration, to get those answers, should interview every unaccompanied child coming across the border. They should determine if any child has been harmed in any way or victimized by human traffickers. Things like this are already being done very professionally and very compassionately for children in America who are victims of human trafficking. The children coming across the border, they may share information about human traffickers or other abusers. This information can help us root out human trafficking as well as other criminal activity. Now, doing these things is the federal government's responsibility. But once again, it is Texas stepping up and doing what the federal government should be doing. Weeks ago, I launched Operation Lone Star to help secure the border and combat the smuggling of people and drugs into Texas. The Texas Department of Public Safety has deployed 1,000 DPS officers, agents, and rangers to support Operation Lone Star. Today, we are expanding the scope of Operation Lone Star to crack down on human trafficking. The Department of Public Safety will work with the already long-standing Governor's Child Sex Trafficking Team, as well as with other organizations and agencies that have experience in dealing with human trafficking and child trafficking.
And when I'm going to tell you what I have to say about that, because this is my show and I can say this. I believe that Abbott is on the fence with all of it. I believe that he's been complicit. I believe that all this stuff's been going on for a long, long time, and he was complicit with it. And then Trump came in and shut it down for 4. You can't tell me that Abbott's been in there all these years and didn't know that this was going on. I tell you what, I live in Texas myself, and I knew it was going on to a point. But 3 years ago, when I started reading the 17 board and finding out about all this trafficking and this and that and another, the things that I have found out since then, I have to look at Abbott as a puppet too, because you got to look at these people, because if I know the truth about what's going on with human trafficking, if I know, then you dang well know that Abbott knows the whole thing, and then he sits there behind a microphone and he acts like he doesn't know. He acts like that this is all something new, and that Texas is just now going to put all these things together, and that Texas is just now going to go combat human trafficking. This has been going on for a mighty long time, And Abbott, this is what I see. This is what I see. And I used to like Abbott. I used to like a lot of them until I found out how dirty they all are. Okay, and let me tell you something else. Just little old 49-year-old woman here in Texas, me, little old me. I got COPD, and I'm sitting here, and I'm doing these shows, and I'm doing this digging, and I'm finding out what's really going on in this world. And I find out that Dan Crenshaw, another one, he's a rhino. He's horrible. He's bad. He's terrible out of West Texas. Then you got those ones from Dallas and all these Democrat, compared to a Democrat-ran city. We're pretty much where they agree with all of this corruption, like Louis Gohmert was saying. They've all been compromised in some way or another. We know that. But there's people that's coming out now that are trying to fight. They're trying to fight for what's right. They're trying to tell us what's really going on. And then you have these ones that are being evasive. Like Abbott. He's only doing these TV media things because he's being forced to. He's being forced to because he knows that Texas is waking up, and he knows that Texas has had enough. We've all, not just Texas. I mean, I would say humans. We've all had enough. We've had enough of their bull crap. We've had enough of them lying to us, feeding us poison, the air, the water, the food. We're tired of them enslaving us. We got a taste of freedom when Trump was in office. We got a taste of freedom. And we all woke up, and it's like we're not, and I'm proud of us because we're not going back to sleep. I'm proud of us because we're doing little things like out here. We're talking about it. We're making a difference. Little by little by little, we're making a difference. But you know what? They're so transparent now. Like all of them that have flip-flopped, all of them that just really don't try to go the extra mile to help combat human trafficking. That means they're complicit. In my mind, they're complicit. They're just as bad to blame as as the human traffickers themselves. Because when I saw that video of that media guy, he was, he had his camera and he's talking and he's on the border and he's filming all this stuff, and it's condom wrappers and lubricant and children's clothes, and that shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't be happening to these children. But but Biden and them, they don't care. They don't care. And you know what? There's a scripture in Matthew that says, You'd be better for someone to tie a millstone around your neck and throw you in the water, in the sea, than to hurt one of my little ones. So saith the Lord. You know, so they're all going to pay. You know, none of them should be able to walk down the street, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Thank you, Alec. Thank you, baby. Thank you. But anyway, like I said, it's we're gonna go a little bit farther. I'm gonna show y'all a little bit of Vice News come out with video. I know y'all about tired of hearing my rant today, but anyway, I'm gonna stay with the story, guys. I'm gonna stay with the story, guys, and we're gonna get down to the bottom of it. You know what? We're gonna get down to the bottom of it because we're God's children, you know, and we're all brothers and sisters. All of us, Americans, Mexicans, Europeans, we're all together in this fight for humanity. You know, against these people, weeding out the people. You know, using discernment. And so that's why I read the Bible every day at 5 o'clock live. I've been reading the Bible every day, and I want y'all to join me at 5 o'clock every evening if you can, for about an hour, and we talk about stuff. And I just let the Bible play. I just let it play out. I don't try to do a Bible study or anything like that yet. Maybe later we will, but right now all I'm doing is just reading out the Bible, just letting the Bible read out. And we can do about 10 chapters a day, and it's very, very nice, and it really, really brings you out of the fog that these people have had us in. Because anything is possible through God. Anything is possible through Jesus Christ, and that's for sure. So anyway, okay, so we're gonna watch a little bit of the Vice News video. And then I will let y'all go. But anyway, let's see. Okay, let me go here. Let's see. I can do that one. But yeah, we're gonna get through this, guys. We're gonna make it. Oh, and one more thing. Before I play the Vice one. One more thing I want to talk to you about. Okay, and this is what I want to talk to you about. I'm going to show y'all a video from the CBS News. Okay, y'all might have heard about the shooting. Y'all might have heard about the shooting that was done with the guy that went into these massage parlors and shot these Korean, Asian, I don't know, shot women. I guess the women that were working in there. He said he had some kind of sex problem, and he was trying to delete the sex problem. Okay, so as soon as that happened, the next day CBS had put out a report that this Asian prime minister or somebody was having they were having some kind of U.S. embassy diplomacy or something, talking about. I mean, they're what I'm saying. They're trying to make gender wars. Is what that is. That's a gender war that they're trying to say that Asians are being that American Asians or American Koreans are being targeted. That's not true. That's not true. They're just trying to say a bunch of stuff right now in the mainstream. With y'all know what I mean. I can't say the word, but FF. Y'all know what I mean when I say flags. You know those things. So be vigilant of those things when y'all are watching the news. Use your discernment, because we're all brothers and sisters, and we're all of us that are out here being true blue. We know, just like these color war, revolutionary wars that they're trying to make against us. And of course, the media is complicit. The mainstream media, that's what they do. Operation Mockingbird, of course, that's what we know. But anyway, the one more thing. Okay. Then I also think it's also about gun control. I think that's going to be coming up into a really big thing is gun control. And then they went and had this thing saying that they found a guy with guns from Texas trying outside of the vice president's house. That came out today, of the vice president's house. He had guns. It was loaded down for bears. What they, the media tries to really make it out. I don't know what's going on. I've seen a little video by Penguin 6 about it. It didn't look like there was a whole lot going on there, And so just, I wanted to show y'all that video real quick before we go into the vice one. But just to be, I just want y'all to be on the lookout for these things because, I imagine it's going to get worse before it gets better. But anyway, so see right here, this one. It says a Texas man with rifle ammunition arrested near vice president official residence. Okay, well, that's their version of it. Okay, and then you go and you see the real video. They use parts of this video in their video, but I want to show y'all. It's just it's not very long at all, but I want y'all to see how calm.
Brendan Jensen, retired construction worker.
How calm the whole situation is, right? Okay. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. See how calm that situation is? They're just talking to him. He's on a bicycle. He's not even in a vehicle. He's on a bicycle.
Secret Service.
Let me back that up. I'm going to back that up so y'all can see that one more time, okay? Okay, one more time.
Massive amount of police activity, and a man has been arrested in front of the vice president's house.
Well, this is interesting. We're at the vice president's house, and outside there's a whole bunch of DC police. I'm not sure what happened. A guy on a bike. They detained a guy on a bike. Jeez, look at all the undercovers.
See how calm that is? That's his bicycle right there. He said, this is random. Yeah. He said, this is random. And then, and then, yeah, I know. Yeah, they do try to divide us all, but we're not going to be divided. We're going to stand strong. Because we know what they're trying to do to us. Now, see, we're all waking up. And I could tell you something else, too. And, so they're trying to say that this guy, right, that they're trying to say this guy had all these guns loaded down for bear in his car, and that he was going after the vice president. Well, I'm going to tell you something about this. If he was a true, like they're going to try to blame us anons, of course, all of us Trump supporters or, radical gun owners and stuff like that, they're going to try to blame us. And because this is where it's going. And that's what they're trying to say with this guy or whatever. But I can tell you, let me tell you something. If the guy that they arrested was an anon, or if he was reading the 17 board like the rest of us, if he had been doing that, well, he wouldn't be standing outside of that residence, would he? No, he would be standing outside of that residence because we all know she's not there anyway. They've been working on that vice president's house. She's not moved in there, not one day. They've even told us that in the media that she's never lived there because they're doing work on the chimney, right? We all know she's not ever going to move in there, but that's just what I'm saying is that if this guy, they're going to come out in the media and try to make him, he's going to be out here and he's going to be this, this radical Trump supporter. Well, if he was with the 17 board, then I can promise you that he would have not been at that residence because he would have known that she was not there. That's what, that's my take on that. So anyway, okay. All right, guys. So now let's go over and watch this Vice video that's got just a little bit of what's going on down at the border. And let's see. Okay, hold on. Let me see. All right. There we are.
As the camp empties out,
The reality of Biden reversing Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. Yeah. All right. I don't know. Let me see. They got more ads. Oh my gosh.
Because options
All right. Let's just start it from here.
seem to be drying up.
Let me start this over, guys. I'm sorry. All right. Let's start this over. Okay. This was on March 12th. So this was a week ago. This was about a week ago.
My words
So let's see what's going on
a
here.
community protest. All of a sudden, I was leading a march of over 50,000 people. I wanted to be a part of that fire. I wanted to be a part of the flames. You don't really need to have
Yeah.
a lot to do something big.
I can't wait till revival breaks out, like really just comes on. That's going to be pretty neat.
Aquí tenemos a la
Because it's
compañera
going to be a
Amelia
revival, guys.
Alonso,
Telling
la
you.
primer persona que fue llamada por la ACNUR para ir para los Estados Unidos de América. A ver, mírame para acá, Onelia.
After more than a year of waiting, Onelia just found out she's been chosen to be one of the first migrants from this refugee camp to be legally brought into the United States. She's one of 70,000 asylum seekers who have been forced to wait in Mexico for months or even years under a Trump-era policy called the Migrant Protection Protocols, or MPP.
The first group of migrants just arrived here in the Brownsville bus terminal. It's a very emotional scene. This is a moment that many didn't even think was imaginable 2 years ago in the midst of Remain in Mexico policy. And now suddenly, their whole story is about to change.
Muchas gracias a Dios por llegar hasta aquí a tierras de libertad. Gracias, llegué. Llevaba mucho tiempo, bueno, llevo 3 años y 6 meses entre travesía y varada, en campamento, campo refugiado, en la selva del Darién. He pasado mucha angustia y estoy viva gracias a ese Dios. ¿Y ahora qué le toca? Soñar todavía. Mientras estemos vivos, vemos un futuro por delante.
But migrants like Onelia, with active cases under MPP, only represent a small fraction of those seeking asylum in the U.S. Overall, the administration continues to turn the majority of migrants away.
We are not saying don't come. We are saying don't come now.
But they're still coming.
19 años fue mi primer intento. De ahí hacia acá lo he intentado, ya le digo, 8 veces más. Tengo 52. Quiero ser libre y es el sueño de toda la persona, ser libre.
For almost his entire adult life, Enrique has been trying to flee Cuba's political oppression for the U.S.
Levántate que estamos aquí, a la familia aquí.
His experience has taught him that there's power in numbers.
Ahí dice nombre, apellido, el sexo, el móvil, la edad y la nacionalidad, por favor.
He's now organizing to try and get himself and other migrants into the camp Onelia just left, hoping to follow in her footsteps.
¿Cuál es el propósito de hoy?
A organizarnos con el fin de que todas las personas que están dentro del campamento, cuando salgan, nosotros poder integrar al campamento.
¿Qué le están pidiendo al gobierno americano? O sea,
al gobierno de México y al gobierno mexicano que no destruyan el campamento para nosotros poder ubicarnos igual que ellos.
¿por qué ahora?
Y con el cambio del presidente Biden, del nuevo programa que tiene, que nos beneficia a todos. Entonces todos queremos solicitar un asilo legalmente. Todos somos emigrantes de diferentes nacionalidades, pero todos somos iguales. Y estamos luchando todos por lo mismo. Y esperamos que lo logremos. Todos los días nos estamos presentando acá para que el gobierno, incluso del campamento, sepan que nosotros existimos. Que no estamos en el programa de MP, pero estamos pidiendo asilo. Un lugar donde podamos estar tranquilos, un lugar donde estemos cerrados, tranquilos, que nos cuiden, ¿entienden? Las autoridades, que no permitan que nadie sufra más de lo que estamos sufriendo.
Something that was once done only by.
What's the secret to good health? Just ask gold medalist Julia Mancuso.
My mom has the camp city is completely sealed off to press and to the public, so that's why I'm walking in the sidewalk trying to talk to these migrants and figure out how they're feeling this moment.
¿Ustedes ya tienen información de cuándo van a salir?
Nosotros queremos saber eso, como inmigrantes queremos saber y darnos cuenta qué sucede o qué pasa.
¿Y qué sienten ahora mismo?
Estamos totalmente desesperados. Aquí reina la incertidumbre, el caos. Aquí ya nadie desea estar aquí, ¿no?
Queremos estar aquí ya, queremos salir ya. ¿Cuánto tiempo lleva usted ya en el campamento?
8 meses.
¿Qué tipo de información quiere saber?
Que si vamos a pasar, que ya luego ya.
¿Cuánto tiempo más cree que pueda aguantar en estas condiciones?
Ya, no le digo.
Hola.
Entonces siempre dijeron que era para el 19, ahora que el 23, yo no sé cuál es la historia, yo no sé cómo es. Eso es, cuando dice una fecha.
¿Qué se siente para usted estar tan cerca de Estados Unidos?
¿Cómo te puedes expresar tan cerquita y tan lejos?
¿Siente seguro aquí?
Sí, aquí dentro más o menos.
¿Y aquí fuera?
No, inseguro.
O sea, ¿qué significaría para usted salir a hacer una vida aquí?
No hay garantía de vida. Tú sabes que aquí hay mucha gente buena, pero hay gente mala también. Se aprovechan y quieren lucrar con los inmigrantes, porque los inmigrantes es una forma de dinero.
Cartels have come to see migrants as a revenue stream. Knowing that many have family in the U.S., the cartels have been kidnapping them, forcing their relatives to pay a ransom. They also control who gets a chance to cross illegally, extorting the most desperate of migrants. And in Matamoros, the situation is even more dangerous, because cartels here are fighting over control of the city. So some migrants have started their own shelters to create a safe space.
Ahí está el campamento.
Está el campamento y nosotros estamos a 200, 250 metros.
Estuardo Cifuente, a gay asylum seeker himself, created a safe house for LGBTQ migrants who are particularly vulnerable.
¿Tenemos vista?
But anyway, so I'm gonna stop it on that one. But anyway, so yeah, the border crisis down there it's getting out of hand. And okay, so Rock Linger had a good idea. He said form assemblies in your county, 3 people to start a de jure assembly, and together can be stronger than state mandates. Get on Telegram for your state's patriots. Now, and then Virginia asked, so what do we do? Go to Telegram and put in our state to try to find patriots in our state. Is that how we do it? I'm assuming that's how we do it. I get on Telegram. I have a Telegram, but I don't get on there very much because it's hard for me to share Telegram to StreamYard, which is what I use. I use StreamYard here. And so it's hard for me to share anything. They have some great stuff on Telegram because they do have a lot of patriots on there with sharing a lot of great information. That's just not how I get my information anymore. Sometimes I'll get on there and do that. But I've been in the Bible study so much this past few weeks that I haven't really had any time until I seen this border crisis thing with the children. And I kind of put it together in my mind what was going on there, and I wanted to share that with y'all. And so I'll be continuing in that fight. And to try to bring y'all what I can about the border crisis as well. And I'll be back on, as y'all can hear that dinging in the background. That's Telegram dinging. Let me know I've got I've got that people are posting on there. But anyway, so I'll be back at about 5:30 this evening with a Bible read in Ezekiel, because Ezekiel was prophet, and Ezekiel's his prophecies are coming true today. And so also I was watching. I'll leave y'all with this. I was watching Robin Bullock. From Robin Bullock. You can look him up on YouTube. But Robin Bullock, he's a prophet, and he is so great. I love him and his family. They they like rock and roll, and they are always praising the Lord. And anyway, so he says he's talking about the border problem and the border crisis, and he said God came to him and showed him or told him that the people down here on the southern border have been on drugs too long, so they was going to, instead of getting a dose of drugs, they was going to be getting a dose of the ghost, the Holy Ghost, the dose of the Holy Ghost. I love it. I love it. And with that being said, guys, I love y'all, and I will see y'all at 5:30. And y'all go in shalom.